Welcome to our group assessment plan for Chapter 9, Performance-Based Assessments. I'm Lanicky Brown.
I'm Katie Tyner.
And I'm Mackenzie Toller. So the agenda for our PD today is first we're going to have the welcome. We're going to have our introduction to performance-based assessment, how to implement the performance-based assessment. We're going to break out with subject areas and at the end, we're going to complete a PD evaluation.
So we would just like to welcome everybody to our PD session today on performance-based assessment. So of course, with any PD session, we kind of need to know what our goal is. And so our learning objective today is to be able to identify and create the different types of performance-based assessments. So hopefully you can take something away from this today and take it back to your classroom. And of course, may it benefit you and your students.
Performance-based assessments. At this point, we would show this video, but to save time, we're not going to show it. This is just to front load, to give some prior knowledge to what it says performance-based assessments are. This video consists of an explanation of performance-based assessment, when to use performance-based assessments, how to score performance-based assessments, as well as different types of performance-based assessments. What are performance-based assessments? Basically, a performance-based assessment is an assessment, a summative assessment tool. Is used at the end so students can show you what they know instead of that standard pencil paper-based assessments where they're just writing it down. Now they're actually showing it to you. And here are some different types of assessment: presentation or presentations, or where students are allowed to verbally express the things that they've learned. This can be either a group or a solo project. Portfolios are usually individual assignments where students have a collection of their works to show what they have learned throughout the process. Performances, if there has been a recital or students have been learning to dance, or if they've been learning to play a sport in PE, a performance would be where they show you what they have learned. Projects, exhibits or fairs, science fairs are a good example of performance-based assessments, as well as debates.
So at this point in our PD, we would show another video. It's called Making Math Relevant from Edutopia. And it's about performance-based assessments in mathematics specifically, because sometimes, in math specifically, there are it is basically just written tests with multiple choice or certain things like that. And so we want to take our performance-based assessment a step further and actually apply it to apply it to math. And so our math teachers that would be in on this PD session would really enjoy this video. And they would be able to see specific projects at this school that implemented performance-based assessment and real-world connections. So how would we implement performance-based assessment? So on this next slide, you can see that there is a process that you have to go through in order to implement a performance-based assessment. And this is really specifically for if you've never used performance-based assessments before. You would identify your goals and of course, select your standards, review what your current assessments are for that particular unit, and then design your scenario. So you want to revamp what assessments you do have, and you want to make a performance-based assessment. So you have to design your scenario, and then develop your learning plan in that process. And then, of course, give your directions to your students. So one thing that we want to take away from the video on the previous slide is that the question we should ask ourselves is, the performance we want from students a short-term memory, or do we want comprehensive understanding and big ideas? So even in a subject like mathematics, that is pretty much, it's a right or wrong answer. We want them to be mathematically minded. And so we want to have that comprehensive understanding and for our students to develop their own big ideas. So performance-based assessment is taking skills a step further. There is absolutely nothing wrong with a pencil and paper test or multiple choice or anything like that. This is just introducing more higher order thinking and real world connections. So implementing performance-based assessment, if you've never done it before, may seem a little daunting, but it's really pretty easy to do. And of course, with any new thing that you implement into your classroom, it can always be modified and improved over time. It's making students take the taught skills and expand on them, being creative. And this is a perfect application, like I said earlier, for higher order thinking. Students who typically aren't the best at written tests can thrive in these types of assessments. So like SPED or EL students are our lower students who they can see this as an opportunity to shine in subjects that they may not be very successful in. And like Lindicki said earlier, this is the idea of showing what you know.
So at this point of the PD, we would break out planning with our subject area. So there's four steps to creating a performance-based assessment. The first step is deciding what to test. So this is like what knowledge or content is essential for your learners to understand of the subject matter. So this could be facts, concepts, principles, or rules. Step 2 is designing a assessment content. So this is just designing it. Step 3 is what kind of rubric would you use? So for example, there's 3 different kinds of rubrics you can use in performance-based assessments, such as checklists, rating scales, or holistic scoring rubrics. And step 4 is what are your test constraints? So this would be your time, what material you're going to need, how many people, the equipment, or what's the prior knowledge of the task, and also your scoring criteria.
As we near the end of our professional development on performance-based assessments, we'd like to have the participants participate in a 3, 2, 1. Tell us 3 things that you've learned from this professional development, 2 things that you found interesting, and 1 thing that you still may have a question about. And before you leave, we will try to get to those questions to make sure that we can answer everything that still may be lingering, to try to clear up all those questions. Also, we'd like for you to participate in a professional development evaluation. To take your time and go over this rubric to tell us how we did and how we can improve on helping you be more effective teachers, how we can improve on helping you learn. If you have any comments, please put those at the bottom as you, and we will collect those at the end as well.
These are the 5 resources we used during our presentation, and thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.